Yo, JD here, Limits, and as you can see, back on F1 2020 as always, and we are on board at Silverstone by the one and only Speed Bari. Make sure to check him out in the description down below. This is probably the fastest lap that I've ever seen around Silverstone, and he just makes it look so easy. The guy has just got an unreal amount of talent. He really deserves to be in F1 Esports as well. And that's why I used this lap as a little intro into what this video is going to be about. If you can see by the title, we are going to go on board again with some F1 Esports drivers, and this time it is with Mr. Dani Moreno at McLaren. Really want to thank those guys for allowing me to use their footage. Make sure you check out their YouTube channel in the description down below and his social media. It's a very good race. Really looking forward to commentating on this, and it actually has sound as well, and it's in a good quality, which the last video I did was a little bit disappointing. I know it was pretty difficult to watch, so hopefully the ones in future will be better quality, but this one has actual sound, which is a big plus. But coming towards the end of Speed Bari's lap, this was just absolutely insane. I don't know how he does it. It is absolutely incredible. As he comes across the line, you can see the clock. It's a 23.0. That is just mind-blowing. Again, make sure you follow him because he is going to be a very big star of the future. But we are about to move into the race, straight away into this race, on board Mr. Dani Moreno. And this was one of his best races of the season, and I'm so happy that they've actually managed to capture this as well. So you can see lining up on the grid, he is on the medium tyres as the lights go 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights here. He's P8 on the grid here, and he needs a very good start because a lot of people on the medium tyres, and he gets such a good start off the line. He goes past the Haas of Simon Weigand. Manuel Banquillia stays ahead of him, so he's made up one position as well, and he's going around the outside to try and get the inside, making a little bit of contact with the AlphaTauri, squeezing very aggressive on the exit there, and he gets the move done. He made up 2 positions there, and that was so cool. In esports, that is so crucial. Track position really is absolutely everything, as we are about to hear the first team radio from the team.
Come on, let's fucking go.
And I think, yeah, you can tell he's pretty happy with that. I would be very happy with that as well. Making up 2 positions on guys like Simon and Manuel is not an easy thing to do. And now he is in almost the perfect place. He's behind the 2 Ferraris, and then I think everyone else ahead of him is on the soft tyre of this race. And we've seen it before. We've seen it on the broadcast. Esports is pretty much a DRS train the entire time. It's so hard to overtake. There's rarely more than a second gap between every single car. So again, him making up those positions is huge. That puts him in such a good strategic advantage, especially with the 2 Ferraris, where one of them has to go longer than the other. It is going to be absolutely massive for the rest of his race.
No!
And I think you could hear James on the radio. He had a little bit of contact with another driver, which I think it was Bono Huis at the time. So he's unfortunately not having the best race. And this stage in the championship as well. This was actually round 7 of the championship, as we've got Dani Beresne behind him in the Alpha, which we will be doing our own on board of this race as well. They were struggling to get a few points just to get that momentum. So this is such a big moment for them. This is the opportunity for Dani to really establish himself in this championship. And Dani Moreno, this is his first year. This is his debut season, and I've always put him as a dark horse coming into the season. I predicted that he would get a top 5 in the Drivers' Championship. That's what I predicted, and I thought he would get a podium. And he kind of reminds me a lot of Jarno. Not in the sense of his driving style, because his driving style is very different. It's just, I see so much potential in him. I could see he's very hungry. He's got the talent. He's got the commitment. He's so calm. You can hear on the team radio, not much talking going on. You'll be able to hear as well a lot of talking when it really matters. You can see Fredrik Rasmussen sets a fastest lap of the race, and he's not that far off it on the medium tyres as well. So he's doing a really, really good job. But again, with Dani, I can just see this potential where he is just going to get better and better. He really believes in himself, and I think you can see in his driving, it's just so smooth, so clean. I don't think this race I even see a single lockup from him. He's just very, very under control. But now this is at a crucial part of the race. We're coming towards the end of lap 4. No one has pitted yet. The 2 Ferraris are on the mediums. You can see the soft runners have got away a little bit, and he decides to go into the pits now. You can see Davidson, it's Benito, Beresne, my team, continues. Manuel continues. Pretty much everyone continues. James? So he's the first guy to pull the trigger. James? We're back to more team radio.
Bono basically took me out. Yeah. Basically took me out. Yeah.
And I think you can hear James, unfortunately, had a little bit of an incident with Bono, which has meant he's had to change his wing when he comes into the pit. So he's got to be near the back. So now this puts even more pressure on the likes of Dani to deliver for the team, because the team really do need the points at this stage in the championship. So he's the first one to pull trigger, along with Brendan Lee and Simon Weigang. And you can see the white line. If anyone's curious about that, we were allowed to completely go off that. So the pit exit wasn't really limited or anything. It was all by the game itself. So the drivers were allowed to do that. And now this is, again, a really crucial part. And he's come out the pits with almost 100% ERS. So his management in that first stint as well, that's exactly what you need. And in esports, as I said, it's so hard to overtake people in the race, especially because they've got DRS. You need to save everything for that out lap or that in lap, as you've got a bit more team radio.
Still not beating the Ferraris.
And again,
Still not beating the Ferraris.
The Ferraris, you can see in the mini-map as well, they're continuing a bit long, which I'm kind of surprised. I thought one of them would have reacted to Moreno's undercut in the soft.
And Floris, the only cars to pit that lap, Dani. And Floris, the only cars to pit that lap, Dani.
So just confirming to Dani again, the communication I really like between the McLaren and the drivers as well. It's not too much talking, but just only the essential information you need. And that's what I always recommend when you're on a team radio. You want at least amount of talking as possible. And whenever you do have to talk, it has to be, the data has to be quality, not quantity or anything at all. But you can see Dani has got a decent undercut on Beresne, but Dani has pitted quite early for these soft tyres, so he is taking a bit of a risk, but a risk that I think is a very, very good one at this stage in the race.
What's the delta like with the Ferraris?
The Ferraris are losing time to the Red Bulls. The Ferraris are losing time to the Red Bulls.
So I think at this stage of the race, Dani was concerned about the Ferraris, if he's going to get the undercut or not, because otherwise this strategy would be pretty pointless if he didn't do that.
On that last lap, they were 6/10 off. On that last lap, they were 6/10 off. Correct.
The Red Bulls.
So I think it's safe to say his pace that he's doing right now at the moment, he's going to get quite a big undercut. And I still think the Ferraris haven't pitted either. You can see in that mini-map, they are still staying out. So sometimes in esports, when you know you're going to get undercutted, sometimes it's better to just go super long.
Longay, Kiefer and Tormola in. Longay, Kiefer
As a
and
couple of the
Tormola
soft
in.
runners have now pitted for that medium tyre now. You know, sometimes, and this is what Jarno does especially, if he's in a bad position, you need to stay out to get the better tyres towards the end of the race here.
The Ferraris need to come out behind these guys. If they come behind Dani, it's really good. If they come behind Dani.
So yeah, again, he just always wants to be updated on where the Ferraris are. But I think Dani is going to get quite a big undercut. And you can see he's actually come out ahead of Marcel Kiefer and just behind Nicolas Onge, who's leading the race. And Marcel Kiefer has a 3-second time penalty, and that is because he sped going into the pit. So Dani has put himself with that undercut, that bold decision to pit very early for the soft, because the softs around here are pretty durable. They can do about 12 to 14 laps, not at a bad pace, before they really start dropping off. So him pulling the trigger early I think was an amazing decision, and now that has put him in the prime seat. He's in the DRS zone of Nicholas Longley. And again, as I said when it came out the pits, in esports you really want to be saving most of your ERS for the in or out lap, because when you're in traffic, everyone has DRS. It's just not going to be worth it at all here.
So Freddie and Benito in, Sinitsa has stayed out. By my calculations, the Ferrari will come out in the pack behind. By my calculations, the Ferrari will come out in the pack behind.
So again, a good team radio from the team, just keeping them updated on everything that he really does need to know. But I think it's very safe to say that he is going to come out quite a way ahead of Ferraris. I'm very surprised again that one of them didn't react on the next lap here. But Dani has put himself in such a good position. He is in the DRS zone. Look at Sonne. And now coming out the pits, Freddie is going to come out the pits, Freddie Rasmussen, and he's going to slot in just between them. And now at this point, I would be saying to Dani that you need to attack him as much as you can, because your softs, these are the best they're going to be against your competition, because the longer the race goes on, the more the crossover is going to happen, and they are just going to have a bit more benefit towards the end of the race. Their tyres are just going to be having less wear, the better traction, everything at the end. So he really needs to make an attack, because the third man in the DRS train is a very, very hard place to be. But he's technically net P3 right now.
Where are the Ferraris?
And he's still wanting to know
miles behind
where the Ferraris are. But as Nathan confirmed and as we speculated, you can see on the minimap as well, they are quite a way behind. And with only 12 laps of this race remaining, they're not going to catch up. Dani's going to be pulled along by these guys with the DRS train. And he is in such a good position to win this race, to win in his debut season. To even get a podium in your debut season is something that's absolutely crazy. But I think at this stage of the race that he really needs to, if he wants to win this race, he needs to get past Rasmussen ASAP, because the longer he leaves it, the more the lack of benefit of his tyres. His tyres are peaked right now. They're just going to drop off slowly towards the end of the race. And one thing I mentioned before, and I think I mentioned it in my last Esports video, Red Bull are so fast on a straight line. You can really see in the corners, not just because of the tyre compound, but I think just in the corners, you can see Longley to Rasmussen there. They are just so fast in a straight line. So he needs to get as close as he can. You could see, like, going into here, he almost goes down the inside of this corner itself.
Is Dani's group catching?
Negative.
And you can see Dani came out of the pits when Dani pitted. Dani was like 1.7, 1.8 behind. So at this stage of the race, they're pretty equal on the tyre compound. I still think the soft is a slightly faster compound, but I say from a lap 12, 13 onwards, that's when the crossover really begins. And we're about to see, look at the speed of the Red Bull in the straight line. I know he's got DRS as well, but you can see Kiefer is really closing in, and Rasmussen is just so fast in that straight line. It is amazing how fast they are. And within F1 Esports, again, you don't want to be, it's like a chess match really. You don't want to be making your move too early. You want to be saving your ERS, saving the fuel, and making sure you're placed yourself on track at the perfect time. You don't want to be revealing your cards too early. So you can see again, Kiefer really closing up on the back of Dani Moreno, and he's got the 3-second time penalty. And with the nature of F1 Esports, everyone being so close, that's probably going to see him lose quite a lot of positions. So I think he would probably be quite keen to get past him, and if he could get into the lead, then just try and stretch it as much as he could, because he really does need to do that at this stage of the race.
Oh, I can make a move on Freddie. He's taking too long.
And Dani, I think, is now starting to recognise that he does have the pace right now. He needs to get past him as soon as he can, because the later he leaves it, the harder it is going to be. And that's exactly what I'd be saying to him now. I'd be saying, look, if you want to win this race, and you've got to make your move sooner rather than later. And you can see again though, it's just so hard to get on the straights. He's having to use a lot of the battery power just to stay ahead of Marcel Kiefer, and you can see Rasmussen is just absolutely breeze past Nicholas Longley at the end of the hangar straight. He's currently in P5 because Jarno and Bono Huis since they were starting in a pretty poor position, they've decided to go very long because they were going to be undercutted anyway, and now they're going to have the freshest tyres. And you can see as we cross the line, he goes from P5 to P3 in this race as they pit for the softs to make a very, very late charge towards the end of this race here. And you can see at the moment it is just staying in complete formation. We're skipping on to start the final 3 laps of this race, and you can see Simon Weigang has actually lost a bit more time, but you can see the tyre wear. His rear left is on 50%, so this is a stage where I would say the mediums are now probably are the better tyre at this point in the race here. So the moment of opportunity to get into second place, that's where he needed to be. He needed to be in that second place if he wanted a chance to win. But with these guys up front, Nicholas Longley and Rasmussen, ex-teammates. Longley was in Red Bull last season but only got to drive in 1 race. I think he'd be very, very keen to prove himself against the Red Bull driver of Freddie Rasmussen. So you're about to hear on the team radio shortly again that Nathan is actually going to remind Dani of that, which I think is a very smart thing because you never know what can happen between these 2 guys. But with this DRS train, it is just pretty much gridlock, and it's going to be really on the last 2 laps where you want to be making these moves, especially around Silverstone. If you have enough ERS and you overtake on the penultimate lap of the race, it's actually quite easy to defend if you have enough of that battery power. So it's just these 4. Simon Weigand's a little gap behind. As I said, if you don't have that DRS, you're not going to catch up unless you've got really, really fresh soft tyres like Jarno or Bono does at this stage in the race. But Dani is just doing an absolutely fantastic job, and he just went for that track position. If you go for that track position and you have the pace, then this is what it can give you. And that start as well was absolutely crucial. If he wasn't aggressive at that start, then he wouldn't have been in this position either, as they have traded places once again. So now this is where everything starts to get a little bit spicy. So coming on to start the penultimate lap of this race here, he's trying to save as much ERS as possible, but he is going quite low on the fuel here. So he's going to put it back down to lean just to try and recover that fuel, try and keep the engine temperature lower just so he has as maximum power as possible. As we're about to hear another team radio.
Just be aware of the battle in front, Dani. They have history. They will brace hard. Just be aware of the battle in front, Dani. They have history. They will brace hard.
And Nathan doing a very smart thing there, just reminding Dani that it's probably going to get a little bit feisty here. I think, as I said, Nicholas Longley, this is his first really full debut this season. I know he did a race last season, but this is his first full season. He's been very impressive. I think he's had the most pole positions as well. He really wants to win a race, and I don't think he has won a race at this stage of the championship. So he is going to be giving it absolutely everything. Rasmussen really wants to take a win as well. And you can see the tyre wear indicator has now come on, so he will be fine to the end of the race. But that's not something you really... subconsciously, that's not something you really want to see. Is now they're starting to go side by side up top here, and then you can see there's no inch or room given there. Nicholas Longley really wants to win this race, and you can see Rasmussen tries to squeeze him, but then Longley then returns the favour. This is actually opening an opportunity for Dani Moreno. He's going to try and make it 3 wide going into turn 1, but then decides to back away from it. He extends the corner, that puts Rasmussen out wide, and that is actually giving Freddie Rasmussen a 3-second time penalty. You can see in the top left of the screen, he now has a penalty. So Dani is now going to be a net P2 in this race here, but I don't think Rasmussen is going to be too pleased about that. So I think we're going to see some more fireworks coming towards the end of the race. So going into the end of sector 1 wasn't close enough to make the overtake there. So it's all going to be about at the end of that hangar straight. He has to still think of Kiefer, but Kiefer does have that time penalty, so he doesn't have to really fear him as much as he normally would. Now going into the end of the old turn 1, you can see Rasmussen, you can see again, he is just so fast in a straight line. It's absolutely pushing him around this corner. So it's all about if he can counter this dirty edge to try and get a good run. I don't think it's quite going to be close enough. He has to protect himself from Kiefer because see Rasmussen how close he is, how fast he is in a straight line. Looks like Longa has saved a bit of the EOS, so he tries to go around the outside. He's going to try and do it. Once again, this is almost identical to the previous lap. It's all about who is going to blink first and brake later. And you can see going through this corner, cue your headphone now.
Let's go! Yes! 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 Come on! Yes! 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 Let's fucking go! Yes!
Come on, Dani!
Yes!
Come on, Dani!
Yes! Let's fucking go!
And you can see by the results in that race, Dani Moreno managed to come home in P2 after just doing a strategic masterclass. Just kept everything so calm, under control. I really think he is a star of the future. I think he is someone who's got so much potential, who can just keep getting better and better, which is why he really reminds me of Jarno. And well done to him, well done to the boys in McLaren. They did an absolutely fantastic job. Please make sure you follow them down below. Incredible performance from him. Thank you so much for the support, and I will catch you very, very soon. Peace.